Arrow Season 6, Episode 4, Reversal. Now this episode I would definitely say was a nice surprise. I think in my last review I kind of mentioned, some of the little stuff. It was like a minor part of the episode last time. It was like, alright, we have Felicity and Oliver and that relationship kind of building back up into something new or old, how depending on how you look at it. And I was like, it seems okay for now in bits and pieces. We all, for the most part, I think everyone kind of came to the same consensus, is that it kind of sucked when it was like the main focal point of whatever season that was. I think season 4, and it was just like, yeah, it's just not really working. It was supposed to be perfect, and then it was just one thing after another was falling apart, and then even when things were supposed to be epic, it was like, I'm healed and I'm walking right out of your life. It was just like the whole thing was just like, this isn't really that entertaining. It was just, some stuff seemed stupid. All in all, it was like a love thing in an action show, which typically is not really ever the coolest thing. So them kind of working their way back around to it in this season, they were kind of doing a good job. It was, building up slowly, and this episode did a great job with it being, an actual, a legitimate leap forward. Even though technically it was just them going on like one official date, it was still a big leap forward. It wasn't like the sort of will they won't they sort of thing. Maybe they'll get back together. They're kind of talking about it, but not really. It's like, no, they officially go out on the date. Everybody's talking about, you two are such a great couple together. And it turned into something even cooler, because not only are they back together, but of course, hence the title of the episode, it's a reversal. Oliver is no longer a part of the team, and Felicity is now dealing with that, where she's the one, of course, who takes off during dinner, where it's like, that's kind of what he was doing. It's all the stuff, all the reversal stuff, but it's so well done. And there are even elements as far as like team trust issues, where it was like, it's actually dealt with in the episode. It's not like completely hidden from the rest of the team. And I was like, that's actually pretty cool. I mean, obviously it only comes from Felicity's side and not the giant story with Diggle, but it was still really cool. It was like, okay, Oliver's like, you should tell the team, but he wasn't like, either you do it or I'll do it. So it was like, I don't really know where this is gonna go. And when Diggle eventually gets a hold of Felicity, she's like, look, this is what's happening. I can't really explain it. I'm dealing with something. He's like, okay, just get back as fast as you can. We really need you. And I was like, that was simple, but it was kind of a big moment, because even like the smallest revelations is always a huge deal, especially in superhero shows, because everybody's always hiding something. So it was like, man, that was a small revelation. She's just honest. It's like, hey, this is what's happening. I can't help the team because I'm trying to deal with this issue, which is something that they brought back from the whole Helix thing, which, back when that first came out, it was kind of like, for me at least, that was one of the things I thought was cool. I know some people didn't care much for it, but that I thought was at least entertaining, because I was like, okay, that's outside of the relationship stuff. That is just Felicity probably doing something, a little bit suspicious and probably crazy and illegal, and it definitely was. Also, turns out they kind of brought that back in a really important way, because that's, well, not Helix itself, but who they helped let out, I believe his last name was Camden, that ends up being our main villain. So I was like, alright, that's a surprising way to kind of bring that all back around, and it makes it insanely relevant. It's not just like, oh, this guy is a bit of a criminal and that's all there is to it. It's like, Felicity, and I don't know, this is funny, but this might actually make people hate her more, but Felicity technically let out the main villain of this season, and somehow, because we still don't really know, but somehow he brought Black Siren back to life, which, with him now being like the tech guy, it's like, okay, I thought for sure that had to be like magic based, but there's still something crazy going on there. It's either magic or some insane form of tech. Excuse me, because she was shot and left there for who knows how long, and then he came along and she was just like, back to life. And it was just like, alright, well, there's still the big mystery of what exactly he did to, help her. But I like him as a villain. I think he's pretty cool, because he's super smart, which I love that they're doing this for Arrow, because the Flash is doing like a genius sort of villain as well. So I don't know if we're going to get like some epic evil genius versus the heroes crossover. I would love that, but typically like evil genius characters typically villain characters in general don't actually work together, because it's like they're villains, so eventually they betray each other. But I would love to see them do like a legitimate crossover with Flash and Arrow, where it's because the villains are both geniuses, and it's for two totally different reasons. I mean, obviously it's Flash, so they're dealing with like metahuman stuff, going on there. But I would love to see that take place. I don't think it'll happen, but that would be really cool. I would actually love to see them do a crossover, because the main villains end up teaming up between the two shows. They should do that in general, but I just think it would be cooler if they did it with like the super evil genius villains. Plus, on the Arrow side, we do have Black Siren, so we still have that metahuman component, and technically on the Flash side we do as well, but it's not as deeply involved. Well, it might be. I don't know. There's a whole mystery with Flash, so I don't know what the deal is there. But I thought it was really cool. Like, I like him as a villain. He's super genius. We get to the end of the episode, and it turns out that the entire plan was a success. He was like, all I wanted to do was get the firewall down. It's like, I could have done it, but instead I basically just had Felicity break through it, so that it's like all of, it's her web prints instead of mine. It's like, wow, he's an evil genius. That's great. Plus, he's actually one of those weird evil villains where he's not like, I'm the one in charge, because even when they're dealing with all the chaos, Black Siren says something about like, your guys are engaging the target, and he was like, it's our guys, because this is, I think he said this is a democracy or something like that. I forgot, but I was like, that's kind of cool. He legitimately considers the people that he works with his partners, and he brought her back to life. He could totally pull the I'm in charge card if he wanted to, because it's like, I saved your life. I wish he does reference that, but it's still kind of keeping them at least on a somewhat even plane. I was like, that's actually kind of cool, because you don't get that very often in villains, where it's like, I'm not just your boss, even though technically I saved your life. He could easily pull that card a million times and it's still valid. But I was like, I like that element. It's very small, but I was like, I think that's actually really cool. So love that. I love this villain. I can't wait to see where they go with this. I think he should be a cool villain. You never know, but based on what we got in this episode, he's definitely smart. All that crap he went through was just to play a trick on them and have Felicity do something he could have easily done, but it was to have her prints there, so that when he does all the crazy stuff, she's going to be the one to go down for it. So I'm kind of excited to see that play out, because I'm sure it'll work, and then all eyes will be on her, which probably won't help the whole Oliver Diggle, who is the Green Arrow deal, because of course, they don't really touch on it in this episode, but we still have that woman from the FBI who basically has her eyes set on Diggle as the new, or the current Green Arrow. So I thought it was really cool, and I'm like, all right, I can't wait to see how this plays out and how these two storylines are gonna kind of collide, really. So I'm looking forward to that. Like I said, as far as Felicity and Oliver, their relationship building up in this episode was great. Felicity in general was like the star of the episode, because she had the Helix stuff coming back on her. She had the relationship coming in, and her kind of balancing those two things, and Oliver kind of doing his thing, which I love the scene where they go to like the rave, and he goes in and he just like completely beats these guys up, and he was the one that screwed up, and she was just like, what in the world are you doing? Like, you have eyes on you 24/7, and of course, he's Oliver, so he's like, I can handle that. And it's like, they were going to give us exactly what we needed, but then you came in kind of guns blazing and you just destroyed everything. So ultimately she's able to get the drive because it was there, but he kind of ruined that situation when he kind of just needed to trust her. So once again, the whole reversal thing is like, just let me do what I know how to do. But it was really good. I really like what they did with her character. It was actually cool seeing Curtis as the one who had to take over as Overwatch, at least for the most part. So it was kind of cool seeing the team, operate in that regard, kind of, being able to function. But it was like, Felicity needs to be here to really help us out. So I thought that was cool. It's not exactly true to Mr. Terrific, because he's like one of the smartest people. I've never even heard of Felicity before Arrow. I'm pretty sure I heard of Mr. Terrific beforehand, but I know in the comics he's like a genius character. I don't think Felicity was ever important in any way, shape, or form until the show came along. So they're changing things up, but they've changed up a million things. It's the TV version of the show. But it was still a really fun episode. I love all the dynamics of what they did with the team. Still didn't touch too much on the whole Diggle situation there, but got some cool action. Once again, I thought we had some cool fight sequences. I am looking forward to how things are going to change for Diggle, and what in the world's going to happen there with him being busted, or maybe the drug no longer working, or maybe making other situations worse, which I didn't catch this before, but in the episode where they actually reveal at the end that he was using the drugs, I think that's why he freaked out during the missions where he couldn't like make decisions. I think it was because of that drug, and it was like the first time he took it, so he was like, I don't know what to do, and I think that's why he froze. I didn't catch that. I didn't think of it either when I saw him like taking the drug. I just thought, oh, he's putting serum into his arm, and it makes him like oddly strong because he's, getting canary cried onto cars and stuff like that, and he's just, I'm up. But I feel like that's what happened in that other episode as well, as the drug kind of messing with his mind. So maybe we will see that actually come back. He seems like he's in the, that was like the beginning, and he's almost in like that perfect middle ground where it's like he gets all the benefits and none of the negatives, and then he's gonna kind of keep using it, and then it will be like any other like hardcore drug. Eventually you get past like that middle level, and it's just like, you get like that one benefit that you're looking for, and then all the hazards and all the detriments just start piling up, and it gets worse and worse. So I feel like we might see that come back, where he's no longer able to make great decisions. It might even have zero effect on him. Like one day he'll take it and it'll be nothing but problems, where his arm is still shaking and he can't make decisions, and he's just, all sorts of effed up. But I feel like we might see that come back. It might take some time, like I said, but either that's how it's gonna happen, or someone's just gonna out him. Like I'm not sure how to play out, but looking forward to that coming back for Diggle's character, and how that's gonna, of course, impact the rest of the team. But it was definitely a fun episode. Surprised how much I loved it, considering it was mainly focused on Felicity. But it was really good. The stuff they did with the Felicity relationship was actually well done. Even with it being, like their first date, it was still a big enough step to seem really important, but it was still, fairly small. It's not like they instantly just got married or anything crazy. So it's like, all right, they're starting over and it's going slow. There are things taking up the process of that relationship building back up, like the fact that Oliver is no longer on the team, so Felicity is the one taking off. And then, of course, in this episode in particular, Helix, kind of makes a comeback. So I love the way it played out. Also, Helix is now used for the name of Felicity and Curtis's startup. It'll be Helix Dynamics, which is actually a pretty cool name. And also, I totally forgot her name, but of course, the woman who kind of brought Felicity in the first place, she will eventually be joining them once they actually kind of get things going. And she was the one that gave Felicity the idea of what they should actually do, because they had no idea. And it was to mass produce the implant that Felicity has that actually allows her to walk, which I'm not gonna lie, I completely forgot was even a thing. Until she mentioned it, I was like, oh yeah. I only think about it in terms of the relationship when she got out of the wheelchair. But as far as like every normal episode, until she said it, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot she for a long time could not walk because she was shot when they shot up the limo and she was wounded. And I was like, man, was that season 2? I feel like that was actually season 2, because I'm pretty sure that was Slade that did that, and then season 3 is when she got healed. Yeah, that's actually insane. I think that was season 2. That's really weird, because that was a long time ago now that I think about it. I think that was actually in season 2, so that almost doesn't even make sense. But yeah, it was Ray, because of course that was during Palmer Tech, so Ray was in there in season 2, and 3 is like when he came in. So that's nuts. That's crazy to think how long ago that actually was. But yeah, totally forgot. I was like, oh yeah, she does have an implant that if there was an EMP, she can't walk, which they kind of touched on that before, if I remember right. But they're going to be starting that up. I'm sure that'll take, quite a bit of time before that all ends up coming along. But I'm excited to see where things are headed. I saw this episode a few days ago, and the reason this review is late is because I actually went to an anime convention, so that's why this review is so late. So I do apologize if there's any specific little moments that I'm missing. It's because I did see this episode, I just could not review it before actually taking off. And also next week will be the exact same thing. I won't even be able to see the episode until next Monday, because I'm actually going out of town again, and I'm leaving even earlier. I won't even actually see the episode on Thursday night. So next week's episode will also be or I guess technically this week's episode will also have a super late review as well. So it'll be about a week from now. I'll be doing next week's episode. So I am looking forward to it, but it should be interesting to see how some of these storylines start to come together, especially with this new villain officially being revealed and him being this genius character. Like I said, I'm almost super excited for it just because they're doing it with the Flash, so it's almost like you have the same type of villain that almost gives me a ton of hope, where it's like, okay, what if we do this and we do this, and it allows for them to use, the same idea in both shows. It's like, all right, this works, and then this villain is like this, so we can do this, sort of move with it, and then this villain is doing it in a different way. So I feel like with them having two super genius villains, that will allow for them to kind of work through every possible scenario with an evil genius villain and come out with the best stuff. That's my hope for it, because it's like if you have the same type, it's just like if for whatever reason both Arrow and Flash had two speedsters, it'd be like, all right, well, you have to make them both really, really well, because otherwise it's just the same thing on both shows, and that sucks. Even though Flash continued to do that every single season, and technically it wasn't better after the first season, but there are a million reveals in the first season, so I don't know. It's really hard to beat that first season of Flash, because it was just like, he can walk, and he's this person, and this happened, and then the future. There's like a million revelations. I don't think any first season has ever had so many what the F moments than season 1 of the Flash. But they kept going with the speedsters, and now they got some thinkers in there. So we got one for Flash, we got one for Arrow, and hopefully with that being the case on both shows, it will allow us to get the coolest versions of two different types of evil genius. We have like the tech genius in Arrow, and then I don't even know how to qualify the Thinker for Flash. Like, I want to say tech, but I'm still trying to consider if he's actually from the future at this point, because I legitimately cannot tell. He sounds like the Master Control program from Tron. It looks like he's inside of Tron because he's just in like this weird cube blue place. So I don't really know his deal. I don't know the character. It might not matter if I know him from the comics because they might change it. But yeah, I'm hoping that with them using two evil genius characters, we get to see the best of both worlds from both these shows. But enjoy the episode, of course. We'd love to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below, leave me your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I actually want to know how you guys are feeling about Felicity in all regards. I know she has been that character that some people just despise. Some people love it because they're like, huge shippers, so they like it just for the fact that she's, with Oliver. But I know some people straight up hate Felicity. No matter what happens, some people hate her. I've never hated her character. I just feel like sometimes they do make her character go through like some crappy stories, and it's just like, man, that sucks, because she's a really hilarious character. She's genius, she's funny, and also really silly. So she's a great character. She's just not always utilized in the greatest manner. But I think they did a great job. They're doing a great job this season, I would say, keeping the relationship stuff simple but actually entertaining, because it's not like taking over everything and it's super dramatic. So I'm liking her character, the way they're utilizing her character. I guess I should say that instead of liking her character. Always like her character, but I like the utilization in this season more than I have. It wasn't that bad last season either, but I feel like they've slowly been building back from what a lot of people would consider just the worst season of the show, period, with like 3 and 4. So I think they're doing a great job kind of rebuilding Felicity as a character in general. So I'm excited for what they're doing with her and kind of where things are headed. But like I said, we'd love to know how you guys are feeling about Felicity at this point, and of course what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.